Good morning, Global Studies students. That was my quote. Apologize. Happy Thursday, which is kind of a Friday, because guess what? You do not have school tomorrow. Hope you're going to enjoy it. So for today, we have current events, and then we have the rest of our Southeast Asia or Asia reading assignment. So we can see that that is due at the end of class today. But more importantly, any or all missing work is due at 3:15 this afternoon. Okay, so please turn all of your late or missing work in to Google Classroom, or let me know that you have it done. Because guess what? End of the trimester, 3:15 this afternoon. Please turn that stuff in. But most importantly, if you are struggling or confused about what you need to do or how to do something, please send me an email or visit me during the office hours of 1:30 to 2:30 today. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. I didn't see anything very interesting on the BBC website today, but I did find a couple things in the Star Tribune. Hong Kong is a little island country that is trying to establish its own independence from China. Had 3 pro-democracy leaders arrested and sentenced yesterday, which is not good for the path to democracy within Hong Kong, but better for the absorption of Hong Kong into China. So that's kind of a bummer. The other thing, I didn't mention this yesterday, but China actually has a spacecraft that landed on the moon. So if you look very closely this weekend, you might be able to see a rover moving around on the moon. Just kidding. I don't even know if a telescope would be able to see it. But they are gathering some moon rocks and are planning on bringing those moon rocks back to, China or the world. Hopefully there's no transformers on it. The only other thing that I have is that it's supposed to be pretty nice next week and kind of the rest of this week as well. It's supposed to be in the 40s, which is abnormal for December. But hey, you know what? It's 2020, so why not? All right, let's go ahead and move on to our quote for today. The truth may hurt for a little while, but a lie hurts forever. Very true. Picture of the day. Move my face. This is an island country. It was actually mentioned yesterday in the picture of the day description. Very small country. 2 words. One is a direction. Picture of the day is East Timor. East Timor is a small island country attached to the island of, I forgot the name of this island. Hold on one second. Pause. To the island of Timor. Maybe it's the island of Timor. We'll just go with that. I'll research that later. So this is a smaller country. Their main resource is oil. We can see where they're placed at in the Pacific Ocean, kind of attached to the Indonesian islands, but then very close to Australia as well. There's our flag. And so there we go. Learning target for today. Identify parts of Mr. Help while reading about human geography of Asia. And so that's going to be kind of something in the front of our mind as we are highlighting and annotating or leaving comments on things that we are learning or questions that we have with this article. Again, a reminder of the items for Mr. Help, or the characteristics of Mr. Help. We have movement, region, human environment interaction, location, and place. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the article. I believe I have my map pulled up, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so we can kind of get back to where we were yesterday. Ooh, that's kind of a nice view. And so here we are looking at Asia. We'll do the satellite vision so we can see some of the clouds moving around. All right, so if we have our article pulled up, we are on page 3, and we are just starting this historic issues section. So that's where we're going to be starting off today. Historical issues, or historic issues. Again, with this assignment, highlighting and writing down using the comment feature 3 things per page that you have learned or have questions about within this document. And this will be the last reading for this assignment or this article, and then you can turn it into Google Classroom once you're done. All right, so here we go. The colonization of Southeast Asia is an example of how historic political geography can influence an entire region. R of Mr. Help. Colonialism is when a country rules over a foreign people from abroad. Southeast Asia was colonized by a variety of foreign powers for more than 1,000 years. Europe, the United States, and Japan ruled over Southeast Asian peoples from the 1500s to the mid-1940s. Colonialism allowed these empires to expand their territory, increase trade, import cheap raw materials, and spread their culture. Okay, so colonialism is countries over here were controlled by countries in Europe, and yes, the United States has a piece in the game of colonialism as well. During this period, the Dutch and British established extremely powerful companies that oversaw trade and labor in countries throughout Asia. The Dutch East India Company, based in Indonesia, even had the power to print its own money and engage in war. It enforced harsh labor practices on local people and made fortunes shipping spices and precious metals back to Europe. If any of you guys are fans of the Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the villain characters in the third movie is I think it's the Indies Trading Company or a trading company, and that's very much connected to historical factors that took place, with countries and with trading around the world. Yeah, colonialism was held in place with violence. The French, for example, used their military to maintain control over local people in their colonies, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands. The countries of Southeast Asia are now independent, but their economies, politics, and cultures are still affected by the history of colonialism. For instance, the Vietnamese language is written using the Roman alphabet. This is because Vietnam was ruled for almost 100 years by the French. As the colonial period approached its end, Asia was deeply affected by another global event, World War II. Japan was the most devastated Asian countries in terms of loss of life and physical destruction. After the war, however, Japan experienced a period of record economic growth. Japan's Ministry of International Trade, which is like a government department, and industry came up with new ideas to help coordinate business and production. The government spent money building efficient transportation, communication, and technological systems. So we had a couple countries talked about within that last chunk. We have we have Vietnam, which is this long, thin country here on the west coast of the South China Sea. And then we also have Japan, which is up here next to the Koreas, China, and then, yes, Russia up here. So those are the countries that were just talked about in that part of the article. Oops, excuse me. Current issues. The economies in India and China have grown dramatically in the last 20 years. This growth has had both positive and negative effects. China has the world's fastest growing economy. It has been getting about 10% bigger every year for the last 30 years. This is largely because China is the world's largest manufacturer and exporter of goods. As a result, wages in China have increased, giving workers a better standard of living. China has become a superpower on the international stage and invests its wealth around the world. Almost every continent in the world has large trading contracts with China or trading relations with China. It has predicted to become the world's largest economy in the coming decades, which is true. The rapid growth of China has caused a number of social, environmental, and economic problems, though. While cities have expanded, many people in the countryside have been left out. Millions have had to migrate to crowded cities to find jobs. So in China itself, we see this problem of human migration taking place. I'm going to switch the maps here so we can see the borders a little bit better. So we have China as a pretty wide or larger country. And so out here in our western part of China, we have not a lot of industrialization that's taking place, or not a lot of economic growth. The majority of that is taking place. You can actually see that where the roads are. And so we have people kind of losing out here on the peripheral or the fringes of the country, moving in towards the urban areas or towards the larger cities to find jobs. So people having to leave cultural traditions and kind of what they've known as life to find a living in the cities. Meanwhile, manufacturing has led to extreme air pollution, air and soil causing major health problems for the people in modern day China. We'll talk a little bit more about this with globalization. India's growth has drastically differed, or is drastically different from China. It's largely driven by the fast-growing service industry, not the manufacturing industry. So we see a two different industry system, manufacturing versus service. In particular, India has become a major producer of information technology services. Its telecommunication industries, which focuses on phone and internet services, relies heavily on India's highly educated English-speaking population. Now, one of the reasons, again, India has this English-speaking background and is able to connect with that service industry is because guess who controlled them? An English-speaking country, the British. So the British controlled India for a long time. And so the education systems were in place. The Indian citizens were able to kind of come up through the ranks, learning English as they grew up or as they became adults. And that's why they're a little bit more connected with the service industry than China is. India's growth has caused hourly wages to double during the past decade, bringing more than 430 million Indians out of poverty and creating immense middle class population. India actually has the largest middle class population in the world, largely because its population is over 1 billion people, but two, because their economy is doing really well. Like China, India has become more powerful internationally and as it becomes wealthier. So the stronger a country becomes or the more wealthy a country becomes, they tend to be doing more trading or more work with other countries around the world. While countries have become wealthier overall, there are extreme gaps between the rich and the poor. India still has the world's largest concentration of people living in extreme poverty. They are people who survive on less than $1.25 a day. So this is our level 1 levels of development. But this is, again, just parts of the country, not the whole country. As in China, there has been little growth in India's cities, or there has been growth in India's cities, but poor communities in the countryside have paid the price. So again, we see this theme of countries having people in the countryside or not close to cities kind of losing out and having to move closer to the cities to have a job or to get a job. Future issues, almost done. Last page here. So again, just a reminder, we are highlighting and annotating things that we learn and questions that we maybe have within this article. Asia's political and economic power is likely to keep growing. Continued growth, however, will likely have several serious effects on the environment. For example, there has been an extreme loss of rainforest or forest cover in Southeast Asia due to overharvesting of timber, and it is now threatening the region's economy and wildlife. Between 1990 and 2010, Southeast Asia's forests shrank in size by roughly 81.5 million acres, an area larger than Vietnam. So again, an area larger than Vietnam. You can see that this larger than this whole country of rainforest has been, or forest has been lost within Asia. Governments and other organizations are trying to fight overharvesting, which again is the overharvesting of those trees or forests. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, has developed a network of more than 600 community forest management agreements that bring local people and the government together. Organizations such as the Forest Stewardship Council and Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme enable forest industries to do their work in more sustainable and environmentally friendly ways. So we have two countries mentioned here. So we have Burma, which is right here next to Thailand, and then we have Malaysia that's actually right down here, spread out on these two different islands. And so those countries are kind of leading the way with those forest protection programs. Perhaps the most serious threat to the environment is the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which causes global warming or climate change. Nowhere are the dangers of global warming more relevant than the Maldives, a country of hundreds of islands in the Indian Ocean. The effects of rising sea level, which result from warmer temperatures, can already be felt there. A 2004 tsunami flooded the entire country, killing 82 people, displacing 12,000 people and inflicting $375 million of damage. So let's take a look at the Maldives quick. So we're gonna go over to India. Maldives are these tiny islands out here in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So we'll take Douglas, drop in Douglas. So this is actually a resort, but you can see that the water level is very close to where the island is. And you can see the island itself is super tiny right here as well. And so if you can imagine a wave, like maybe 10 feet tall, would cover this entire island. And so that's why one of these places are so susceptible to climate change and or global warming, because they don't have a lot of space to really evacuate to from the rising ocean. The effects of global warming on the Maldives will only become more painful and widespread in the coming decades. The Maldivian government has been trying to force the international community to pay more attention to the problem. In 2009, President Mohamed Nasheed held the world's first underwater cabinet meeting in order to highlight the effect of climate change, just to give them an idea like, hey, if you don't help us out, we're going to be having to figure out how to live our lives either underwater or relocate our entire population. All right, guys, so that should do it for today. 3 comments per page, highlighting things that we're learning and or have questions about, and then we are turning this assignment into Google Classroom. All right, again, all missing work needs to be turned in today by 3:15, please. End of the trimester is upon us. You don't have to have any schooling tomorrow, so please work diligently through the day to turn in stuff for my class and for your other classes as well. I know that this distance learning thing isn't something that any of us wanted, but we do have to make the best of the situations that are in front of us. Please email me if you have any questions. If not, have a great, you guys have Friday off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. Have a great 6-day weekend, essentially. And I will see you back here on Thursday when we start up trimester 2. Take care. Bye-bye.